I don't know how dramatic this is going to be. I think you guys all know. I think the airing of grievances doesn't just happen on Festivus. It also happens on every single day because Arthur Smith is a bane to my existence. He's a bane to the existence of every fantasy manager. He's a bane to common sense in the NFL. I had a first-place team in a 16-team league, and that lost last week because Bijan Robinson got literally negative fantasy points. Also, the guy who was playing had James Cook and Raheem Mostert. But still, I'd have had a chance if Bijan Robinson did what he normally should have done. Arthur Smith. Festivus is no longer Festivus. It's now Arthur Smith Day. All we do every year is we air a grievance about Arthur Smith. When we come back, I might have more.
Fantasy Football Pregame with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
It's that special time of year when you get in the holiday spirit. For us here on Fantasy Football Pregame, more the Festivus spirit, officially celebrated tomorrow. But the airing of grievances and hopefully the feats of strength will happen today. George Savaricas, Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher, and Lawrence Jackson.
I'm tweeting out a link so people can join us here. You go ahead.
Okay.
Keep doing what you're doing. It's good.
It's nice of you to not knock that out before the show and wait till we get on air.
I was busy getting a hat. Lawrence and I were fighting over naughty or nice, which hat went where. I'm not convinced we got the right hat on the right person. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I think we do.
We probably did.
You got all these nights in Buffalo and stuff like that. I don't got no nights in Buffalo.
I want to be clear about.
I never been to Buffalo.
My one night in Buffalo wasn't naughty. It was beautiful. Is what it was. So, yeah, exactly.
It's a thin
Brokeback Buffalo is what that was.
Brokeback Buffalo?
Yeah.
Brokeback Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's the sequel.
I rest my case.
Jay and I in
Bringing
Brokeback
back Heath
Buffalo.
Ledger from Beyond the Grave.
Who needs Croc 4 when you can write the sequel?
Oh, God. It's terrifying.
Exactly. You're right. Maybe I was a little naughty that night.
Christmas is ruined already.
Yeah, it was a miracle.
I'm wearing all black for Christmas.
All right,
Big
well,
Dead.
we're going to hold your storyline for Week
That's
16,
fine.
so you can type that out. Jay, let's start.
There's a sliding down the chimney joke somewhere in there. But I'm going to leave it alone and let you talk about your storyline,
Steer
Jay.
clear
A
of the
lesser
chuckle
man
hole.
would make that joke,
Yeah.
but we'll go with Jay now.
My storyline, Brock Purdy hurt my feelings last week. He was terrible in the rain. Brock Purdy don't like the rain, doesn't like the wet. But guess what? He gets to go to Miami today, where it's not going to be as wet as it was in NorCal last week. So I think the big story for me is Brock Purdy, this offense, can they get back on track? They were so bad against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And getting back on track, what does that even look like? Like, what is their backfield situation? What is Deebo Samuel at this point? Is he just like wide receiver Zach Wilson at the moment? Because it looks like he's lost the plot. George Kittle, Juwan Jennings. There's just a lot of fantasy pieces here, and I don't think you have confidence really in anyone. Still starting guys like Jennings and Purdy and Kittle, but a lot of uncertainty. So what will the Niners offense show in Miami?
Definitely a big question mark for sure. Lawrence, what's top of mind for you?
Yeah, for me, can Saquon Barkley get back on track here in the middle of the fantasy football playoffs? Had a down week last week. The Eagles passing game got going. The last time Saquon Barkley performed against these Commanders in Week 11, he went 146 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So basically, will he be able to recapture that performance?
Nice gloves, Saquon.
Yeah.
Has he been shopping for gifts?
Probably.
Stout here.
I don't know. He's playing my Commanders. I'm not looking forward to this one. I'm nervous.
Do NFL players have the biggest variance in what they wear
Yes.
into the stadium compared
That's
to other
as
sports?
far from David Njoku as you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Njoku is at the top, and then everyone just is playing for
There
second.
there's David Njoku, leather daddy, and then that was like shopping daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Big
Very
wide
natural
range of outcomes.
progression, for
Yes.
sure. My question, and Lawrence, I saw you bring this up with the game that Lamar Jackson had. Josh Allen has become the heavy betting favorite in the markets right now. He's minus 750, but if you look at Lamar's stats, 40 total touchdowns, about 1,000 more total passing and rushing yards than Josh Allen. So Lamar's put up gaudier numbers, but Josh has become the betting favorite. So is this really a two-man race, or is Josh Allen going to shut the door today against the Patriots and maintain his status as the clear-cut front-runner? The betting markets versus the actual on-field numbers very different right now in the season. So what narrative is going to emerge at the end of Week 16?
Yeah. Excellent question. By the way, shout out to, no, I mean, we're not talking. We're just talking about these weren't our storylines, and this has come up throughout the
deep dive.
No deep dive at all. I will say though, as long as you brought up Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, Shout out to my guy Lawrence Jackson, who earlier this week on Wednesday on early betting lines said Ravens minus 14 at plus money. Where'd they go off at? Plus 225, I think?
Plus 212. It closed at about plus 189.
Okay.
So as those injuries started going on through the week, that number got a little shorter.
Well, when you gave it out, it was over plus 200, and obviously that cashed yesterday. Great call by you, Lawrence. I feel like your ball is mine's droopier.
More vigorous?
Yeah, mine's droopier, I feel like. I don't know what's going on.
Is this a better hang to it?
It has a better hang to it. Yeah, I don't know what that says. All right. Here's what I will say, though, in terms of you guys can discuss amongst yourselves in the comments. My storyline, obviously, is the debut of Michael Penix Jr. as the starting quarterback of Lawrence's Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Raheem Morris pushing it all in. You know, like you want to talk about, going all in and just, laying them on the table, as it were. That is Raheem Morris, who is saying, my $100 million guaranteed contract quarterback, you go to the bench, I'm starting the rookie. After a win, they beat the Raiders, and then while they're still very much alive in the NFC playoff race. So really interesting to see how does Michael Penix Jr. play, and more importantly, how does his play affect Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, even Ray McLeod and Kyle Pitts, who had moments of fantasy relevance this year. So that, to me, is a huge question. I know it's something we're going to discuss in Burning Questions, George.
Yeah. Burning Questions top of mind. Why don't we kick it off right there with George under the fire, as always.
My head always bounces. I don't know why everyone, like I'm a floating apparition.
You're a jiggly person.
Am I jiggly?
Yeah, you're jiggly.
I feel like I'm more jiggly around the gut than the head, to be perfectly honest, though.
It extends like a virus. It spreads to the neck.
Your words, our thoughts. 2-12 New York Giants at the 7-7 Atlanta Falcons. Falcons favored by 9, over under 42.5. So Matthew alluded to it. How does Michael Penix Jr. affect the Atlanta pass catchers in his debut as an NFL starter?
Nowhere to go but up, honestly, because Cousins has just been so brutal. Having said that, you see my ranks there on the screen. You're starting the obvious guys. You're starting Bijan Robinson. You're starting Drake London. I do think Michael Penix Jr., now that we've removed 6 quarterbacks from the 3 previous games, I do think he's a top 20 play today. I think he's a QB2, high variance. Yeah. I could see him, as we talked about earlier in the week, I could see him throwing 175 yards and a touchdown in a game in which, because there'll be some turnovers, the game's in Atlanta, I think they go run heavy here. I don't think they have to score a lot to beat the Giants. So I could see him just having a very, making a couple wow throws, but ultimately at the end of the day, his fantasy points are 175 and a touchdown. I could also see him throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, they'll take a couple of deep shots to Darnell Mooney. Remember, no team in the NFL allows a higher completion percentage on deep passes than the New York Giants. I have Darnell Mooney at 37 a day, so I mean he's a risk-reward wide receiver 3-4, sort of in that range. But I think if you're in a deeper league, I don't mind taking a shot there. Pitts again is just, he's a mid-tier tight end too. I think there are better options out there. If you're searching for a tight end, like as I've said, go get yourself some Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What if you were in the semifinals in your league?
Yeah.
Maybe the League of Assholes.
Yeah.
Would you start Darnell Mooney against Big Show?
It depends who my other options are.
Okay. Who else is on my bench? Wan'Dale Robinson.
These are the kind of questions you can ask us as well. Do me a favor, ask it and use hashtag #FFPregame. Either on the YouTube comments or on X, like Dan Cadlick did. He understands the directions. He understands the assignment. All right, so Dan writes, need a wide receiver flex in a standard league. Jalen McMillan, 6 targets last 2 games. Darnell Mooney with a new rookie quarterback. Or Jaden Reed, who's hurt me in recent weeks. Hashtag FFPregame. Lawrence and Jay, I turn to you guys. McMillan, tonight on Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock, I'm a company man. Mooney, who we just talked about, or Jaden Reed, who does have a nice matchup against the Saints.
Yeah, the issue is that the Packers are 14-point favorites in that one, and given their propensity to run the ball, Jordan Love might throw the ball 19 times. That might be it. So, I mean, this sounds crazy, but with K. Dotton out, I kind of think Jalen McMillan becomes the most interesting of these 3.
I'm going to go with the best and most consistent passing game right now, and that's Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. I'm going to chase that high over under of 47.5, and I'm going to chase the fact that Jalen McMillan has been, fairly consistent. Like you said, 6 targets in his last 2 games. Try to just go with what you know here.
Yeah, I agree. It's McMillan for me as well. Would either of you roll the dice on a Falcon that isn't named Bijan or Drake?
No.
Well, I have to. I'm in a semifinal right now, starting Kyle Pitts. You think Will Dissly's hurt?
Yeah.
I didn't get Stone Smart. So.
I mean, I will tell you, I'm in a very deep league. Because I lost Jalen Waddle, and I lost Isaac Guerrero. Didn't have Patrick Taylor, so I'm starting Darnell Mooney in a flex play. Yeah, just because again, I'm a little bit desperate.
And with Darnell Mooney, you spoke of it. They're gonna take those deep shots. Kirk Cousins was below the league average in air yards per passing attempts. We know Michael Penix could whip that ball, and over his last year at Washington, added some touch to that. So with a guy like Darnell Mooney, you're hoping to get the deep ball passing game in there.
Yeah, Mooney recently had a 6-catch for 142-yard game. He's on pace for more than 1,000 yards.
He's had a great season.
He's had
the Moon Man.
The Moon Man's having a career year.
Calls him.
Having a career year with the Falcons. Well, there's one person who calls him that, but we won't name names here. So I think he's set up against the Giants to potentially have, call it 70, 80-plus yards and maybe a touchdown. So it could be a favorable
Also,
matchup.
just for some context too, Michael Penix at DraftKings is set at 220.5 passing yards. So it's not like it's nothing. Like we've often seen quarterbacks set in the 160s and 170s. So in a dome with weapons against a very suspect, leaky pass defense. And also Michael Penix, he's a rookie. He's also, his whole thing was that he was coming in pro-ready. Like he's played a lot of football. This isn't an Anthony Richardson type situation. Not even like a Drake May situation.
What was that over-under again for his passing
220.5.
yards? Viewers, keep that in mind for later.
Okay.
I'll also just say that I don't mind grabbing Michael Penix just to see, you know what I mean? Again, they play the Commanders next week. That's not a secondary that scares you. And if you've been riding Jameis Winston for a few weeks and now he's not starting, if you've been riding Tua and suddenly the Dolphins feel like they're falling apart, right? No Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill's not 100%. I could see if Michael Penix shows something today against the Giants, I could see him, if you're in a deeper league, a 2-quarterback league, potentially using Penix next week against the Commanders.
I think that would make a lot of sense. Our next matchup, and this is a very different passing prop for a guy who's making his first start this season. You got the 3-11 Browns at the 6-8 Cincinnati Bengals. This line up to Bengals by 9.5. The over/under 46. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be under center. Guarantee you that has a one handle for his passing prop this week against the Bengals. In his career, 1 touchdown, 7 interceptions. Been pretty grisly. So can you start any Browns skill position players this week with DTR at quarterback?
I don't think you can. DTR, so we set at 191.5, which seems a little high to me in terms of passing yards. And this is low-key. It's kind of a crazy move, unless it's a pure tanking move, which I guess that it is, to go away from James. James is just a better quarterback than DTR. I'm sorry. I think we've seen enough from DTR to know that he's not the future in Cleveland. So I think just you kind of had to make an action because James kept on throwing all these picks. But at the same time, he just lessens everyone's value.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from the Browns' point of view. If you're Kevin Stefanski, who who coach of the year, a lot of people, 2-time coach of the year, but last year won coach of the year. A lot of people don't know that, but he actually did.
Yes.
He won that. Part of the reason why is because he coached Joe Flacco to a comeback player of the year award, well deserved by Joe Flacco. Unbelievable Cinderella story. Everyone was rooting for him. It was great. So great to see Joe Flacco win that award.
That's why Jay's in all black. He's still greeting.
Yes, it's an ongoing funeral.
It's because he can't afford any other clothes. Because
he was over leveraged.
Oh, you have no idea. His daughters are all in trade schools. He told them all. He's just I'm sorry. Pick up a pick up a welder. What do you call them? Welder. What welding tool? What do you call them?
Sounds like a man who's done a lot of handy.
I can tell you're not a skilled laborer, are you?
I'm not. Everyone knows this.
A welder?
Everyone knows that.
A building machine?
When you are a welder, what's the tool that you use to weld?
I like your like focusing the question to me like I'm the authority on welding.
You guys just all gave
Because
me crap for not knowing.
I
and
did.
own
You
that
notice
I
how
don't know.
quiet I got, right? You notice how
I
like,
own that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Well, it depends what you're welding.
You're the one who
All I
walked
know
down that
is-
dark alley of your own accord, though. That's don't pin it on us.
All I'm saying is, I literally. This is a true story. Like literally 4 days ago, poor little Rio had her doll, and Jay knocked it out of her hand. And handed her a hammer and said, "No, you're going to learn a skill because Daddy's not sending you to college."
Yeah, that's all.
Because of
it's all
Joe
true.
Flacco.
It's all
What?
true.
This is a true story.
And it worked out well for Joe Flacco in the end. Yeah, comeback player of the year. God, what a disgrace.
We got a question here
Sure,
from
from
Danielle
Danielle
K
K.
on YouTube. #FF Pregame. You guys help me not get a tattoo punishment.
All right, yeah. Congrats on that.
Congrats all around. Now please help me go undefeated in another league. K. Miller, Jay Ford, Judy, Coleman, or Pittman need one running back and one flex full PPR.
So it's interesting because I do think Jerome, you mentioned no skill players that you think. I do think Jerome Ford, you saw him, I am at running back 26. I do think there's potential for Jerome Ford because of no Nick Chubb, because of DTR's propensity to try to, chuck it down, and he is mobile. The one thing DTR can do is run. So that may open up some some rushing lanes, I should say, for Jerome Ford. So I do think Jerome Ford is actually potentially kind of viable in this one. Kendrick Miller should get a ton of work. We don't expect Alvin Kamara to play on Monday night. I want no part of Jerry Jeudy. I want no part of Michael Pittman. I want no part of Keon Coleman. So I just think I think it's pretty easy. I think you're going with Kendrick Miller and Jerome Ford, two guys that are guaranteed to touch the ball probably 15 or more times each. So I don't know if you guys.
That's easy
Definitely.
for me.
Judy would be the only guy if you want to really hunt for upside, but it's against a weak defense. But I think we've just seen too much of DTR to dismiss that possibility.
To that point, Jay, right? He's had 3 career starts, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has. In those 3 starts, he's averaging 140 passing yards a game. He has only 1 passing touchdown. Not averaging 1 passing touchdown, literally has 1 passing touchdown in those 3 games. The most yards any wide receiver has had with DTR under center is 60, and that was Elijah Moore, by the way. And only once in those 3 games did a wide receiver on the Browns even get to 12 fantasy points. Get to double-digit fantasy points, and that was Elijah Moore, who had 12. Everyone else has had single-digit fantasy points. I feel strongly about this, Danielle K. It is Jerome Ford, and it is Kendra Miller.
DTR's 3 starts last year, the highest amount of points they put up was 13.
Yeah.
That's bad.
The offense hasn't exactly been rolling. Grant Ellison, I'm upset with Kevin Stefanski for putting an end to the Jameis Winston magic. Judy, Jamison Williams, or Patrick Taylor.
We are too.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with. I think I'm going to go with. I don't mind Jamison Williams against the Bears, right? I do think the Lions have a big game here, but I think I'm going to say Patrick Taylor here, just because I think the expected volume in what should be positive game script for the Niners.
There's a lot of talk about Easy Abanikanda, but the 49ers have shown on 3 different occasions with 3 different running backs that they're willing to give one guy the whole workload out the backfield. So it's got to be Patrick Taylor right here.
The other thing here is that, well, I think you and I do, Lawrence, and I don't know about how you guys feel, and you can tell me or not, it doesn't matter. But I know Lawrence and I both like the upside in terms of talent from Izzy Abanikanda. The question is, he's been there 2 weeks. It's Kyle Shanahan runs a complicated offense. It's not the easiest playbook to pick up, and so I just don't know in terms of whether it's pass protections and some of the calls. Like, he's been there 2 weeks, the kid has, and so Taylor's been in that system for a decent amount, and so I do think just because you can't get Brock Purdy killed at this point, I do think Taylor's on the field a lot more than Izzy just because of that.
Yeah. Speaking of getting killed, let's make sure to keep an eye on that Santa Claus and make sure that it doesn't move.
Look at this thing. Look. Can we get a close up of that? This is like the creepiest Santa. Like,
Kind of looks like you going wrong.
a little bit,
Matthew.
but I know. But like, he's got the
What I
dark,
do.
beady eyes. I at least have like beautiful blue eyes.
That Santa's seen some things.
Oh,
That's terrible.
that Santa has seen some things. By the way, you're not lying, because can I tell you something? You know where we found this
tell.
Santa?
Where?
In Buffalo. Jay was so drunk that
story?
night. Yeah. Dre was so drunk that night, he doesn't know that I brought that Santa back to our hotel room, and that He was watching Brokeback Buffalo.
He was the third guy in the scene.
He just was there. I'm not saying he
So
participated.
then that's why his eyes look like that.
I'm just saying he's just seen some stuff.
He's a little glazed over.
Check the pockets for a machete or something. Doesn't look great.
Yeah. It does look. It's a little Chucky-esque. That Santa. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. So anyway, the other one I want to mention here, just as long as we're on DTR, and then we'll move on. I actually do think David Njoku, if he's active, we'll find out the inactives coming up here in a little bit. But if David Njoku's a go, I do think he can be viable given the tight end position as well. In the 3 starts that DTR made, David Njoku had a 27% target share. He had double-digit fantasy points in all of those games as well. And it's worth noting that over the last month, the Cincinnati Bengals allowing 21.9 fantasy points per game to tight ends. That is the most in the NFL. So I'm playing stupid dev in the semifinals of our league. I have a choice between Zach Ertz against the Eagles, his former team, revenge game, or David Njoku with DTR under center. I also have Juwan Johnson, because just for good karma.
Yeah.
Hey, help me do a victory against stupid dev last week.
Zach Ertz.
No, I get it. I just I don't know. Philadelphia is so good defensively. I'm going with Njoku for whatever. If Njoku's active, I'm going with Njoku.
Yeah. For sure.
Because Ertz is coming off the concussion too. Remember that.
Yeah.
So
True.
one hit and
I think back to that last game between the Eagles and Commanders, and maybe Jaden Daniels was compromised with the oblique cell at that point. But it was a lot of short stuff. Like it was a lot of Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz, and Terry McLaurin famously wasn't targeted while he was on Quinion Mitchell. So I think there is some scope there. But yeah, you don't feel amazing about Zach Ertz.
it just who's more likely to get a touchdown? I feel like it's probably Njoku. It's not great. The other thing. I mean, to your point about the short stuff though, Washington's line got dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated by the Saints. Like, and I guess why don't we go to this burning question, right?
Let's do it. We got the 12-2
there.
Eagles at your 9-5 Washington Commanders. Eagles now favored by 4, over under 46.5. So you were digging into it, Matthew. Any concern for Jaden Daniels or Terry McLaurin in this matchup? McLaurin last time basically faced bracket coverage majority of the game against the Eagles. Didn't do much from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you see him. I have him there at QB4 now that 6 teams have played, and you see I have McLaurin at wide receiver 15. So somewhat, I don't feel super strong about it. I mean, but again, everywhere I have Jaden Daniels, I'm rolling with him. Here's the concern. The Eagles are playing at a very elite level, and the line got dominated. Washington's line got dominated against the Saints last week.
Yeah.
And this one's better.
Jaden Daniels was on his back way too much last week. Having said that, I do think that there was probably a little bit of the case of the Commanders sort of maybe looking past the Saints to this matchup with Philadelphia. I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. I know it happens, but it's not always easy. These are two teams. Washington always plays the Eagles tough, even in years in which it's been brutal for the Commanders. Hey, look at this. Oh, there you go, a Bubba Wallace jacket. Let's go.
Yeah.
Little NASCAR. Jaden Daniels, Faith in 5, repping Bubba Wallace there. We love that.
I didn't know Jaden Daniels liked NASCAR.
I didn't either.
That's what's up.
But I'll tell you what he does like.
I wonder what he
throwing
means.
touchdowns, running for touchdowns, beating teams. I don't know that he wins this game, but I do. I'm being honest with you. I'm being honest.
Eagles money line.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit. But I mean, Jay, were you surprised that the line's only 3.5 here?
No, because I think that Jaden Daniels, we spoke about this the other day, Lawrence disagrees with me. I think Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback in this matchup, and I just think that what he's been able to do with this offense all season, they are one of the most efficient offenses in football. The defense quietly, since the first month of the season, has actually been statistically an above average unit. Marshawn Lattimore comes in, AJ Brown's going to be banged up. Yep. So I think that there are reasons to think that the Commanders can keep it close. And also just, home field advantage matters a lot. That's a 4-point swing playing home versus on the road. So that is material as well.
The last time they played the Philadelphia Eagles, I think people look at the box score if they don't remember that game. That was on a short week where Jaden Daniels was clearly they're playing Sunday after very physical. They're playing on a Thursday night after a very physical game on Sunday against the Steelers. So then they had to travel to Philadelphia. Daniels clearly compromised with the ribs, and yet they were in that game till the very end. Now, there was some fluky stuff. Jake Elliott misses 2 field goals. For some reason, Dan Quinn decides to go for it on 4th down as opposed to kicking a field goal to take the lead. And then there's just a final drive there that sort of pads the stats for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they didn't get blown out of the water, and I think they're a better team now. Lawrence, so
they did a decent job on Lamar.
But I
this
wear
Eagles
burgundy.
defense.
I wear burgundy-colored glasses, Lawrence. So you tell me if I'm crazy with saying like I think he can start McLaurin and Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson, who I have as a top 20 play this week.
I would be starting all of them because, especially Jaden Daniels, because he's just that good of a player. I'm not shocked that the spread is that close. There is some worry, obviously, because the team beat you, and they just a few weeks ago Lamar had a good game statistically against the Eagles, no turnovers, he had 3 touchdowns, but they disrupted Lamar Jackson a lot, and you figure this is they're going to attack that in a very similar way with Jaden Daniels, but I think he's good enough to rise to the occasion.
I think with the Eagles' 10-game winning streak, we have seen them play down to their level of competition. They barely beat the Browns in that run. Barely beat Panthers at home, but they also play up and seem to elevate their game when it's a team with a winning record. The best version of the Eagles has been when we saw them go to LA, dominate the Rams. They looked great last week against the Steelers. So I would think we're going to see the Eagles team that looks like a juggernaut and could potentially get the 1 seed in the NFC. We got a question here from Kevin. His wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua. Is McLaurin a safe PPR play against Philly? Only 1 reception for 10 yards back in Week 11. Healthy alternatives that he's got here: ETN, Tyrone Tracy, Ridley, or Njoku. I really want to upset the 1 seed this week. Playoff time in fantasy. #FF Pregame.
I appreciate that. For me, so it's a 2-part question, Kevin. Is McLaurin a safe PPR flex against Philadelphia? No, I don't think anyone is safe against Philadelphia. Having said that, given the options you have, I'm playing McLaurin. Again, you see me, I'm as a top 20 play. He's been so good this entire year. I know he got goose-egged last time they played the Eagles. That's not going to happen again. They've talked about the fact, Cliff Kingsbury's talked about the fact that they needs to move him around to get him away. They'll do different things to disguise him, to try to mix up the coverage on McLaurin against the Philadelphia Eagles, because you sit here and look like ETN. It's a timeshare with Tank Bigsby. Tyrone Tracy came to this game banged up. Singletary vultured the touchdown last week. They're on the road at Atlanta where they're heavy underdogs. You've got Njoku, who we've just talked about with DTR. Like, he's okay as a PPR, as a tight end because given the position. But
not in your flex.
Yeah, not in your flex, not benching Terry McLaurin for him. And then the only one that I might consider is Calvin Ridley, because Mason Rudolph has shown a propensity to sort of chuck it deep, and they will take some shots to Ridley. But the Colts, weirdly, this game's in Indianapolis. The Colts still have playoff hopes flickering, but they're still alive. They're still technically alive. Over the last 4 weeks, Colts are 27th against the run, 6th against the pass. I think this is a big Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard game. They may take some shots to Calvin Ridley.
I would stick with McLaurin.
At the end of the day, even given matchup, I'd rather my guy getting passes from Jaden Daniels than Mason Rudolph. So I'm saying stick with McLaurin. I don't know if anyone.
No, agreed. McLaurin's receiving prop, I believe it's 61.5 on DraftKings, so that's pretty healthy. And I think that, it's not a great matchup against Philadelphia, but he'll play better than he did against them last time.
Quick sidebar, and we were on Oppo ends with Broncos Colts last week. You think if JT's touchdown had stood, Colts go on to win that?
They go on to smoke them. After that happened, Michael Pittman fumbled. Adonai Mitchell threw a pick 6. I don't think you was in the screening room at that time, but I was like, I couldn't get over that. They actually tried that. They're not running that play if Jonathan Taylor goes into the that game was
insane.
Bizarre.
Like that, I did not deserve to win that. You were on the right side for 3+ quarters, and then it was a colossal
what a play
meltdown.
Right. It's worth noting, just one quick stat on McLaurin, just to wrap this up. Since week 6, there's only been one game that Terry McLaurin has scored below 15.8 fantasy points. Now, it was that Eagles game. That was the one game, but again, you're seeing a team for a second time. They've had more time to prepare. They're healthier. They've had 2 wins back to back as opposed to losing to I don't know. I think they'll play better today. I don't think they win, but I think they'll play better. They might cover the 3.5.
You're really talking yourself into it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get there.
Eagles by 3.
By the way, and tell me if I'm crazy on this one too.
Okay.
I actually hope the Eagles win this game, and I'll tell you why. No, I'll tell you why.
You're crazy.
I'll tell you why. Because I think the most likely scenario is, regardless of whether the Commanders win this game or lose this game, I think the most likely scenario is that the Commanders are the 7th seed, and their first round game is at Philadelphia, and Philly is the 2 seed, that the Lions hang on to the 1. And so I think it's really, really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And we've seen this before. I swear to God, we've seen this before. So the Eagles sweep the regular season, and then Washington comes into Philadelphia in the first round of the playoffs and shocks the world.
Hey,
That's my idea.
Also, too, if you could beat a team twice, you could beat them 3 times. There's
This is
that,
true.
too.
There are stats, though. This is Big Show. Look this up for me. There are stats on the
Big Show, give me a stat that proves my argument.
You're damn right.
Help a brother out.
You're damn right. This is true, though. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in the NFL in a single season.
Okay. In the
The
Barry
Steelers
analytics.
might have done it to the Ravens a
What?
couple of times. I think the Steelers might have done it to the Ravens a few times.
3 times in a season. I'm just whatever. Big Show knows what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Find me a stat that proves my point. Manipulate
go.
whatever you got to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's giving me a
Lie if you
thumbs
got
up. He's
to.
on it.
We would never do data manipulation on this show or stand for it. On
We don't
Fantasy
do it in the
Football
bar
Pregame.
trivia either.
No.
I'm trying to get it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
We got one more game to go. 6-8 49ers at the 6-8 Miami Dolphins. 49ers favored by 1.5, over under 44.5. We had touched on the 49ers running game. Christian McCaffrey out for the year. Elijah Mitchell out for the year. Jordan Mason, he's done. Isaac Garindo out this week.
Yeah.
They're now on their
Garrison Hurst not walking through that door.
They're
thought,
on
right.
Roger Craig retired. They're on their
Kevin Barlow not playing.
Yeah.
fifth string.
Barlow, he's solid.
Fifth string running back with Patrick Taylor. So we know that, or we think we know, he'll get the majority of the touches. Can you have absolute trust in him or any other 49ers running back?
Trust is a strong word, George. So, no, I do not think you can have absolute trust in Patrick Taylor, who is candidly the textbook definition of just a guy. Having said that,
Sorry, Patrick.
since
Patrick's family.
Just blindsided him.
Compared to other NFL running backs,
Wow.
it's kind of true.
That's the harshest call since George called Bo Nix trash.
yeah, that's true.
And look, that was his battle cry the rest of the year. Look what the man he's become.
Hey, matter of fact, why don't you call Patrick Taylor trash right now so I can put him in my line?
Live up to your naughty hat.
Yeah, exactly. I will tell you, George Savaricas told me this morning that he thought Patrick Taylor was even trashier than Bo Nix. If you see interviews with Bo Nix, like when he's doing interviews in front of his locker, there's a picture of George, right there, just motivation. Like it's on. So kudos to George for inspiring Bo Nix. Here's what I'll tell you. Since Isaac Garindo went on IR, I'm sorry, I should take that back. Since Chris McCaffrey went on IR, once he came back. Since Chris McCaffrey went on IR, 70% of the 49ers' non-Isaac Garindo touches, following me here, have gone to Patrick Taylor.
Terrible setup.
Just basically, when Chris McCaffrey went on IR, because it was the same time that Jordan Mason went on IR, when both those guys went on IR, it was Isaac Garindo. And so all the San Francisco running back touches that weren't Isaac Garindo, 70% of them went to PTJ, Patrick Taylor Jr. From the running back position, the Niners are averaging over 20 fantasy points per game on the road at Miami. I think they're going to want to run the ball. They've got Keyshawn Vaughn. He's played 3 snaps over the last 2 games. And then we talked about Izzy Abanikanda, who's been inactive the last 2 weeks. And so they just don't have a lot of other guys. So, again, trust is a strong word. I think they try to win this game on the arm of Brock Purdy to Kittle and Jennings and maybe some Debo. He runs it a little bit more. But, yes, I have Patrick Taylor at running back 27, and I'm starting him in a league because Lord knows I need to.
Important question here. PPR, this on the tube from
I'm
Pal.
starting him against Stupid Dev in our league.
Did you pick him up?
Yeah,
I dropped him, did I?
Yeah, you were you rostered 5 Niners running backs, but
Didn't
not
take
the
the
6th.
sixth.
Yeah.
Classic. PPR, need one in the flex. Tony Pollard, Jonnu Smith, or Patrick Taylor Jr. Thanks and good luck, everyone. Hashtag FF Pregame.
Pollard's been on the injury list. I will say that. It's been he's been banged up, but he is expected to be active here. I don't want Jonnu Smith. I'm nervous because the Niners have actually been really good. Fred Warner's playing quietly had a very good season. The Niners are very good against opposing tight ends. I'm going to go with Tony Pollard, though. I think he's the better player than Patrick Taylor.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I know
Agreed.
you're going to see some spears, but
Yeah, he was, like you said, he was banged up, still had 17 touches last week, got in the end zone last week. I think it's kind of easy, to be honest, especially versus the Colts' run defense, which isn't great.
On board.
Thank you, George.
Savaricas
Shot
seal
time?
of
Well done.
approval.
Yeah. Let's
Yes.
let's
do
get
some
into
shots.
the predictions that we feel real confident in. We're going shot for shot now, and Matthew is going to get the party started.
Yeah. What do you mean party started? I think I've already have gotten the party started. What are you talking about? Hey man, this is, come on, wearing a naughty hat. Well, what's more party than that?
Next to the creepy Santa
Next
Claus.
to the creepy Santa behind me, ready
Why
to
does he
attack
keep
me.
blinking?
I don't know. It is weird. He does keep blinking. I don't know. You know who else is naughty? Jared Goff, because what he's going to do is
Really?
what he's going to do to the Bears today is depraved, mean, dirty.
He's gonna defile the Bears?
He's going to defile them. He's going to do He's going to do unspeakable things
Wow.
to your Chicago Bears. Things that children should not see.
Everything you're saying is the truth.
Yeah. Since week 11, the Bears are 28th in pass defense. They're allowing 18 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. They're really beat up defensively. It's been a lost season for the Bears and Bears fans. But you're used to it, right, George?
All I know is pain.
Yeah. And now the Bears will know some today because Jared Goff will inflict it as a top 8 fantasy quarterback today on the road to Chicago. I know people are worried about being outdoors and being on the road, but whatever. Jared Goff shuts up all the critics and has a top 8 finish today at the QB position.
Real bold, top 8.
The guy threw 5 touchdowns last week. Okay.
He's on the road still. It's cold.
Jared don't like the cold.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the New York Giants, they don't like winning, but
Yeah.
they can cover, and they will cover. Plus 8.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. You guys know this is the 100-year anniversary of the New York Giants? What a celebration season.
To cover against the Falcons.
The Navy York Giants, they cover plus 8.5. Drew Lock shows up, and they keep this within a touchdown.
I can actually see him covering too. Right?
That's just a lot of points for a rookie quarterback who's never played a game.
See them covering. It's like you're looking at an abstract painting. You're like, yeah, I can kind of see it there.
Speaking of the rookie quarterback that never played a game, Michael Penix, I'm going to say he throws for in between 217 and 234 passing yards and 1 touchdown. That's why in their last 10 games, only 2 quarterbacks have thrown for multiple touchdowns against these Giants, right? That was Lamar and Jaden. Quarterbacks that didn't throw for multiple touchdowns, Geno Smith, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson. So, in between 217 and 234 pass yards and just 1 touchdown from Michael Penix today, and they win.
Well, as we mentioned, his passing prop's 220.5, so he's probably going to cover, but we don't know for certain.
Yeah. He might not, but he probably could.
Yeah.
So if you're toggling that line about that passing prop, your mind's
To be fair, I didn't know that number until 10 minutes ago, to be honest. I'm just.
And you're giving me crap about my Jared Goff call.
No.
Screw you.
But this is I'm
am I
being very exact here. Not 2 touchdowns, not 1.72 touchdowns, just 1 touchdown.
1 touchdown pass.
For Michael Penix.
17-year-old
So if he
man.
throw 2 or 3, I lose.
Yeah, I would desperately love that to be to Darnell Mooney. All right, George, what do you got?
I got James Cook. He's going to go off against the Patriots. Bills favored by 14. He's gone over 100 yards 2 of his last 3 games. His rushing prop is 63.5. They're going to have positive game script. James Cook hasn't been a workhorse by traditional standards, getting, say, 20 to 25 touches, but I think this week realistically could be a 15 to 20 touch game, springs 1 long run for 40-plus yards. So I think he'll go closer to 100 rushing yards, easily hit the over this week with his number at 63.5.
All right. Mac Jones is not a good quarterback, but he's become a competent one over the last few weeks, and he's been good enough to get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. So BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. finishes as a top 10 fantasy wide receiver today. He's gotten a massive target share this season, especially with Mac Jones under center and everyone else basically banged up. And over the past 4 weeks, wide receivers that see at least a 20% target share against the Las Vegas Raiders. And I expect it to be north of that for BTJ. But wide receivers that get at least a 20% target share against the Raiders, averaging 17.8 fantasy points per game. Brian Thomas Jr. is a top 10 wide receiver today.
See if he keeps balling out. Is there a cockier bad quarterback than Mac Jones?
Drew Lock.
On the short list?
Feels himself a bit. a guy who has been accused, I guess, of cockiness in the past, but now very much living up to it. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, favorites in your division. The NFC South, the glorious NFC South. They'll blow out the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football tonight. The line is -4. They'll cover that. They'll win by a touchdown or more. Don't like this matchup at all for the Cowboys. Think Baker lights them up in primetime.
Yeah, Baker gonna light him up. Money Mayfield gonna light him up. That's why I'm going with Mike Evans in this alt line, 90 receiving yards. On the screen, you'll see it at +125. That's down to +105. Now look, he needs to average 83.5 yards the rest of the season to get that 1,000. Baker wants him to get that. This game is 48.5 over under here. He's been averaging 115 yards his last 3 games, so I'm taking 90 yards at plus money all day.
All right.
Okay.
I like that.
It was week 4 when I referred to a certain Broncos quarterback as trash. And to be fair, that week he went 12 for 25 and put up a whopping 60 passing yards against the Jets. But since then,
Won that game.
Bo Nix is
Hang on.
on the
Let's
short
take-
list
no, no, no,
for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
George, wait, well, don't move on. Let's take a moment here to celebrate George's great call in week 4. Let's think back to that. That's right. You called him trash.
All right, clap it up.
And that worked out on week 4.
There you go.
That's fantastic. Good job. Really good job.
I know there's
We shouldn't-
0%
we shouldn't-
sincerity.
Yeah, no. We shouldn't rush by that one good call from week 4.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not. Let's celebrate that. Let's think about it. Let's remember it.
Yeah.
Let's embrace it.
We should
Throw
show
it
up-
in, put it in the rafters.
Yeah.
There we go. So I haven't called anyone trash since. Until today.
Oh.
Damn.
Wow.
DTR.
Oh, no.
Oh,
The young man.
It's trash.
There's a family. Mother or
He
father.
is a horrendous
Oh, no.
quarterback.
Let's go back to the trash well.
Yeah.
Do you need my naughty hat?
Yeah.
You know what this
Naughty is
means.
not enough.
Wow.
Even Bad Santa knows that
DTR
DTR
comeback
is
player
terrible.
2025.
He is so bad
Coming back from being trash.
that this line has
Like
shifted
Joe
from
Flacco.
Bengals by 6.5 to Bengals by 9.5. 3-point swing once he was announced as the starting quarterback. That's not even enough to contain what the Bengals are going to do. Play this alt lines up to 16.5. Bengals are going to win by 17 plus, blow out the Browns, win their 3rd straight to get to 7-8.
More depravity.
I would say
there's
this,
a
George.
shot glass.
That's my kind of bet right there. I like that, man. I like that.
Poor DTR.
Yeah. Not a compliment. Yeah. Plus money, long shot Jackson over here. I'm just,
Yeah. So, some circles, he's alt lines, Jackson.
Yeah.
You never know.
Other people call him Mouse.
Depending on the day.
Hollywood.
You know. Hollywood. That's a real one right
I
there.
know.
The real ones know.
I know.
Yep, you're up.
Oh, am I? Okay. All right. Everyone
Well,
knows I don't read the rundown. All right, look. You may not be playing this week because of what Cooper Kupp did to you last week. But if you survived, and by the way, I survived in a league with Cooper Kupp. If you survived, I say Cooper Kupp, my little Cooper Kupp, bounces back and finishes as a top 20 wide receiver this week. Michael Carter, the slot corner for the Jets, is out as well. And over the last 4 weeks, the New York Football Jets have allowed the most receptions, the 5th most yards per game to the slot. I don't think it was bad weather and, touchdowns were hard to come by in that Thursday night game. It was ugly. Kupp had a bad game. That's not going to happen twice in a row. Cooper Kupp bounces back in a big way today and finishes as a top 20 fantasy wide receiver.
Okay. Another guy who's going to get right in the receiving game, Brock Bowers. Quiet couple of weeks for Brock Bowers after that epic game against the Chiefs. I'm going to say, going up against a very suspect defense with Jacksonville, with his man AOC back under center, has a bit more of a rapport with.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers gets right, goes over his receiving prop, which has been hovering around the mid-60s, goes 70-plus yards. Brock Bowers, welcome back.
Welcome again, Josh Allen.
Is he going to have a good game?
Nah. Well, yeah. Yeah. But he's going to score 2 touchdowns, non-passing. That means 2 rushing and maybe a receiving touchdown because he's done that, right? Scored a rushing touchdown in 5 straight games. 3 straight games he scored 2 non-passing touchdowns. That's at plus 425 right now. Dalvin Cook's not getting the ball inside the 5. Dalvin Cook had 2 rushing touchdowns.
He also
but
doesn't play for the Bills.
James Cook.
James Cook, Dalvin's little brother.
Yes.
James Cook.
James Dalvin Cook is his actual name.
It probably is.
Nope, it is. It legitimately is. His name is the greatest thing in the world. His name is James Dalvin Cook, and his brother Dalvin's name is Dalvin James Cook. I swear to God, that is a true story. Big Show will back me up on that.
Well, James Dalvin Cook is not scoring a touchdown from inside the 5 with Josh Allen at quarterback. MVP's on the line. They're playing the Patriots. They're going to be able to rack it up. So give me 2 rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen.
I mean, Lamar did put up on a show yesterday. So if you're trying to get it, if you're Josh Allen or you're trying to get Josh Allen MVP,
that is,
you notice that
they are.
On national TV, Lamar was pretty brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, Josh Allen about to go off. And if they get up by 30, he still might be going off.
As someone who has Josh Allen in our league, I hope you're right, Lawrence.
Another guy's been brilliant all season. Joe Burrow has been on an absolute tear. The last 6 weeks has had 3+ passing touchdowns every single game. It's been a remarkable run. So he is plus 120 to have 3 passing touchdowns or more. I think he's going to finish as a top 3 fantasy quarterback and light up the Browns today.
Okay.
All right.
I like it. Joe Burrow has a good game.
Yes.
Josh Allen has a good game. We're
Let me
really
write
going
that
out
down.
on a limb.
Josh Allen. Yeah, you gave me crap about my Jared Goff take.
Airing of grievances here from Edward, #FF Pregame. People who quit mid-season, they're the absolute worst. They ruin matchups, give opponents easier chances at wins, screw up the standings and playoff standings after kicking them out as commish. I take the team over, start the highest projected players in each position to keep matchups fair. Here, Edward. Here.
Yeah, well done. So Festivus is actually tomorrow, but we're going to celebrate it today, and we start off with Jay Croucher.
Yes. Okay. My grievance is with the Carolina Panthers offense, who I built my entire fantasy team around. My franchise cornerstones: Chuba Hubbard, a.k.a. the Troubler; Adam Thielen, a.k.a. Adam Thielen. And you know what these guys, they gave me last week? My fantasy season on the line? A giant bag of bricks to my face! They gave me nothing! Why did you trade Jay Buhner? There was one moment where the Panthers offense looked right last week. I see a receiver man streaking down the right sideline to pay dirt. I think it must be Adam Thielen. Maybe it's Chuba Hubbard on a wheel route, a chubby wheel route. No, it's goddamn Jalen Coker, who's not a real person. He's a figment of our imaginations. Jalen Coker, not a real name, not a real person. I changed my team name 90 minutes before kickoff on Sunday to Chubby Magic, all caps. And that was a request, a formal request for Magic. And I was granted deeply unchubby performances. Carolina Panthers, they really screwed me, and that is my grievance. Okay, we're going to break. When we come back, waiver ads, other good stuff. I'm very upset.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
David Njoku looking better than ever. All
He done
bundled
switched it up
up.
for you. He done switched it up.
We need to see some skin.
120 yards, 2 touchdowns incoming right now.
What is this?
Dog pound, come on. David Njoku not bothered by the cold, going shirtless for
there
pregame
we
warm-up. Battle of Ohio kicks off in 90 minutes. Look at that. Look at that beautiful man. Oh, I wish he was part of Buffalo Brokeback. That is a beautiful man, and that is a beautiful man that is going right into my lineup. Right into my lineup. How can I start Zach Ertz over him when that guy looks like that? Stop it. Come on.
That way to bring it back.
That's a
Let's
huge
go.
question.
David Njoku going to lead live at noon on the cock to victory.
Producer Steven terrified out of his mind.
That's
a mine, actually.
I need a quick ruling on this, George. You're best to rule on this. If I get my production staff fired 2 days before Christmas, is that a good or bad thing? Does that put me on the naughty list?
Yeah, put you on a lot of lists.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steven. I'm sorry, producer Steven.
You're minus
Just to
140.
ban David Njoku from the show.
Minus 140 to end on an HR list.
He's a
by the end of
handsome
the show.
man.
Yeah, he's
Come on.
damn handsome man. Good football player too.
He's a very good football player, actually.
Cool Matt with this query.
If you have to call yourself cool, Matt, are you? Just a question. All right, go ahead.
I currently have Pollard in my flex. Just give me a god. If he's healthy,
I'm in a loopy mood.
do I start Pollard, Keenan Allen, Kendra Miller,
It's the hat.
Abdullah, or Patrick Taylor?
It is the hat. I'm playing into the hat. Yeah, so healthy. Pollard is active, I believe.
You caught none of what I said, did you?
I was busy thinking about the hat.
Lawrence, you want to field this one?
I would still go Tony Pollard. Like I said earlier, still last week, even while he was banged up, he had the 19 touches with Tajay Spears kind of going off from a fantasy perspective. He still was able to get into the end zone himself. Keenan Allen, you don't really want to start any guy from the Bears if you don't have to. And when you got a guy like Pollard who's going to get that value and is proven, I would take him over those other guys.
Where's Keenan Allen at? You're a Bears man.
Man, it's hard to trust, anyone in that offense. Keenan Allen's upside's 40 receiving yards, and he maybe gets a touchdown.
I will say, the Lions secondary decimated. The entire defense is decimated, as is your Bears defense. I do think this game could be kind of a sneaky shootout because I think the Lions are going to have no problem scoring on Chicago, and so you could see, again, it's all up to Caleb, right? But if Caleb is semi-decent, I don't think they're going to be able to get a ton of pressure on him. And again, the secondary's beat up. The entire Lions defense is so beat up. So Keenan Allen, who's had some success now, could it be a DJ Moore game? Could Odunze get loose for 2? That's the problem, is because I don't know that all 3 guys have big games here, and so I think at least one of them does. But I don't mind Keenan Allen, but I'm not benching Tony Pollard for Keenan Allen.
Right. I would definitely go Keenan Allen over Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
For certain.
For sure.
Yeah.
In Matt Eberflus's final stand as coach, with the debacle at the end of the Lions game where the clock ran out and they didn't kick the field goal, it kind of obscured the fact that the Bears were within a field goal of the Lions on the road, and they'd actually played relatively well and kept that game close. And I thought Caleb was fine in that game and he put up big stats. So since then, the Lions have proceeded to lose another 50% of their defense, basically. So this should be a favorable matchup.
But the Bears the last 2 weeks in both those games on the road lost 38-13 and 30-12 against the 49ers and Vikings.
I thought the Vikings game was closer than 30-12. It should have been like 30-20 if they'd got those 4th downs and they didn't get the touchdown called back because of the silly stuff.
Really warms my heart. To priority waiver ads, running backs available in more than 50% of leagues. Kendra Miller, nice vulture last week with a touchdown, going to have a big share of the work this week, obviously with Alvin Kamara battling injury. Alexander Mattison, Amir Abdullah. Wonder what that running back split is going to look like for the Raiders with Sincere McCormick now on IR, Patrick Taylor Jr., top 30, Tyler Algier in the mix as well. Which name jumps out to you, Matthew?
Well, Kendra Miller's the obvious one, right? He's had 2 career games with 12 or more touches, and he's averaging 14 fantasy points per game. No Alvin Kamara in this game. Spencer Rattler under center. They're on the road at Green Bay. So I just think volume gets you there because they will use him out of the backfield as well. So I could see some dump offs there. Another one, I'll also say both Raiders running backs. Madison had a bad fumble the other game, and so Abdullah, I could see them using him as a pass catching running back and him having a significant workload against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville struggles against pass-catching running backs, by the way. I believe they're top 5 in terms of most fantasy points allowed through receiving to running backs.
Yep. As we mentioned during the week, the highlight of Alexander Madison's season was that fumble on the broadcast being attributed to Sincere McCormack, who was not on the field.
It's messed up, right?
That's what it's all about, Alexander Madison. That's where the bar is.
Classic case of mistaken identity. Jacob Sykes on YouTube, #FF Pregame. This is a dynasty brewing, going for a three-peat.
Let's go.
Choosing between Abdullah Madison and Patrick Taylor for his running back 2 slot. Love Rodgers at quarterback. 10-man, half-point PPR league.
I think it's got to be Taylor. It's not a great choice here with any of the 3, but at least Taylor, in theory, should have the majority of the role to himself. I also think just a better offense, right? I'd just rather be part of the Niners offense than the Raiders.
I think he's just substantially more likely to score a touchdown is the key there. And also, like, at the end of the day, who do you want to go down with? You want to go down with 50% of the Raiders' backfield, or you want to go down with Kyle Shanahan and the offense that was the greatest in NFL history last year for efficiency-wise? So I think that it's clearly Patrick Taylor.
Let's go to our wide receiver ranks now and taking a look at a name that we hit on earlier in the show, and Jalen McMillan. He's at 34th this week at the Cowboys. How hard is it to forecast that Packers wide receiving core? Romeo Doubs your best option, or just a touchdown-dependent option?
I think he's a touchdown-dependent option. McMillan's the really interesting one. He's averaging over 20 points a game over his last 2. He scored 3 in the last 2 games, 24% target share. No Cade Otton in this game tonight. You heard Jay talk earlier in the show about the fact that we just think the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield just roll the Cowboys. Dallas has struggled at home in a big way, and as a Commanders fan, there's nothing I'd like more than to see the Cowboys embarrassed on national TV. On NBC and Peacock, I'm a company man. In an ideal world, especially given, I think, Jay, you mentioned this as well, Packers are heavy home favorites going up against Spencer Rattler. I just think this is all Josh Jacobs. It's hard to see Jordan Love throwing a ton, and then they're splitting touches, again, multiple pass catchers. Hard to trust any Green Bay guy there. DeMario Douglas, it's worth noting, Bills have allowed the 2nd most receptions to the slot this season, so in negative game script, maybe Pop Douglas gets you some run.
Matthew, are you able to do a voice for Creepy Santa? This question directed towards
for Creepy Santa.
Kendre Miller, McMillan, Patrick Taylor, or Strange at flex from Josh Shoup.
I'm not going to do a voice for Creepy Santa, but you know who can is Jay Croucher.
Okay.
Because he's got a foreign accent, and that's off-putting to some people. That's what the market research says.
The thing is do you go deep-throated actual Santa? Because to me, that is so terrifying. It's more of a Chucky. It's more of a Kendre Miller.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Do me a favor.
Yeah, zoom in on
get me a close-up
Yeah,
of the
zoom
Santa.
in on Creepy Santa.
Give me a close-up of Creepy Santa. All right, let me get out of that. Oh, let me go the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, all right, let's go Kendre Miller, McMillan, Patrick Taylor, or Brenton Strange at flex.
What you got, Santa?
I would go Brenton Strange, flex, because I like to get strange. No, I would actually go with someone else, I think.
Kendre Miller for me, just in terms of volume of touches. I prefer Miller to Taylor, right? And then, so then it's really Miller versus McMillan, and that's really a coin flip. The only argument there for Miller versus McMillan, it's a worse offense and probably less scoring. I just think it's more concentrated touches, right? That, like, while we like McMillan, he's also got Mike Evans. You've got the running backs there. It's Cooper Rush on the other side. Is there a pick 6 potentially? I don't know. For me, I think it's probably Kendre Miller here.
It's also a weird thing to say, but I think Kendre Miller is the best player of this group. Kendre Miller's actually been playing quite well, and he's looked explosive when he's been out there.
Definitely looked explosive.
Yeah.
Lawrence, would you go McMillan or you go Kendre
Miller?
too?
I'm actually in a league where I have Kendre Miller, Patrick Taylor, and Madison. I'm benching Madison, so
I would agree with that call.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks and tight ends to stream. How about the last couple weeks for Aaron Rodgers? Nearly 600 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He and Devontae Adams went off fourth quarter against the Jags. Will that continue this week against the Rams, man?
Yeah, he should get into media feuds more often. Like,
we don't need more.
Yeah, no. But it's inspired him, right? Since week 11, he's been great, and no team in the NFL has a higher red zone pass rate than the New York Football Jets since week 11. Again, Rodgers trying to pad his stats, trying to shut some people up. I am at QB9 this week. As you see it right there, it's available in over 50% of Yahoo leagues. Drake May in a negative game script. It's worth noting that as dominant as the Bills have been, again, it's been all these crazy shootouts. I mean, their defense has just suddenly disappeared. Bills have allowed multiple touchdown passes in 5 of their past 6 games as well. And then, of course, it's Hunter Henry. It wouldn't be a season without having to talk about Hunter Henry.
We're going to move on. Hunter Henry and the Packers wide receivers.
Since week 7, he's got a 22% target share. And we've talked a little bit about Brenton Strange. Go get yourself some Strange. In 5 games this year where he's had at least 4 targets, he's averaging over 12 points per game. Mac Jones will look for him early and often in a good matchup against the Raiders.
We love a Pick 2 special on Fantasy Football Pregame from Dev Stafford.
Yeah, that's stupid Dev. Do you realize that that's stupid Dev? This is in our league.
His
Pick
pen
2.
name here.
Yeah, Tony Pollard, Jacoby Myers, Amari Cooper, Hunter Henry in a rematch of the championship I lost last year and cannot spend another year without those bragging rights. Okay, stupid Dev. By the way, I love your profile picture of you and Peacocky, the official peacock. The official peacock of the FF Happy Hour and Pregame. Listen, Dev, I like you. I'll be honest with you. It will pain me to beat you today. I want you. It would be nice to beat you in the finals. Like, I wish you had one more week. I wish you were on the other. Because I like you more than you or I don't even know who you're playing. Who are you playing? Big Show.
Oh,
yeah. I like Big Show.
Listen,
that's one's a dicey one.
Not since the Americans faced off against the Russians in the Miracle of Ice has the nation more been behind a singular outcome than Dev crushing you today. We need Al Michaels on the call.
Do you believe in miracles?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, listen, our projections have us basically as a coin flip. Like, it's pretty much even. Dev has had a great team all year long. So I'm going to stay out of this one. I'm going to let you guys answer.
Wow.
I'm obviously compromised here. I'm not going to give
a different league.
This is our league.
Oh, this is our league.
This is our league.
All right, as a man who's let me do it because I'm not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
No, this is true.
I'm not in the playoffs.
Yeah, listen to the guy not in the playoffs.
Exactly.
You and Jay share in common right now.
Boom. So look, we going with Tony Pollard, stupid Dev. We gonna check that off the list right there. And the next one, man. Because Aiden O'Connell is back, I gotta go Jacoby Myers.
I would do the same. I think that Amari Cooper
not playing enough snaps.
14 targets 2 weeks ago, 0s last week. Can't trust that in a game with their 14-point favorites. Then Hunter Henry's a fun running bit for us, but I think I'd rather start Jacoby Myers in a dome going up against the Jags defense.
For what it's worth, stupid Dev, I agree with my colleagues here. That's the 2 that you should start against me. And I will say this. I'm also going to say this. If Dev wins, 2 things happen. I'm going to declare it right now. 2 things happen. Number 1 is I will root for him in the finals.
Sure.
He has my full support
As
against
will I.
either you, George, or Big Show.
It'll be me.
So fine. And I don't know if I can do this. I was going to say I was going to retire the stupid Dev nickname, but I don't know that I can because it's part of the brand.
Yeah.
He gets recognized with it now.
Yeah, it's not like Patrick Mahomes can stop calling himself Patrick. It's his name.
You know what? Here's what I will guarantee you then. Stupid Dev, if you beat me, not only will I root for you, but you will be able to come on our air next week on Fantasy Football Happy Hour and mock me, declare victory. You know, we will give you free speech to say whatever you want to me and the nation.
Yep, and Matthew will give you 10 grand.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Nice little
Yeah, I
stocking
almost
stuffer.
forgot that small part.
Yeah. Like it's
Matty
better than
Claus.
giving Christmas bonuses to you guys.
Desperation plays. Matthew, why'd you go with Jalen Coker?
Cokeheads, rise up. All of
Didn't
us.
see that one
Jalen
coming.
Coker. You see, look, he's wide receiver 43. Let's not get crazy. But in his last 2 games, he does have a 27% target share. Xavier Legette not going to play today. He had the big touchdown catch and run last week, had over 100 total yards. Again, inflated by that one big play. But we're seeing that there is that big play ability. I don't know if the matchup against Arizona scares you. So Jalen Coker, who should be the number 2 option for Bryce Young after Adam Thielen, I think he's a viable desperation play. Cokeheads unite.
Yep. Okay. Juwan Johnson heads unite. I'm taking him as my desperation play. The reality is that they're 14-point dogs, so they should be in a throw script, and he is potentially the number 1 pass catching option for an NFL team.
I'm gonna go with Malik Washington here. Jalen Waddle banged up when Washington came in for him last week. Caught 5 of 6 targets, 52 yards. Played a season high 59% snaps. I want a Dolphins receiver who has a quarterback that has thrown it at least 40 times in 4 straight games.
Demarcus Robinson touchdowns in consecutive weeks has been a big part of the Rams' red zone offense. I think he can make it 3 in a row at the Jets. Now it is Prop a Shot time. This is brought to you by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. These lines you can bet on DraftKings. So let's kick off the festivities.
By the way, something else you may want to think about as you're considering wagers in the future. Since 2002, 4 different times, a team that went 2-0 against an opponent in the regular season lost to that same team in the playoffs.
Okay, so what's the other side of the step, though?
Well, 7 different times the team has won 3 of them, all 3 in a row. But 4 different times.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's
happened.
twice as
4 and
likely
7. Yeah, so twice.
that they will go 3-0.
Don't
sense.
confuse me with stats and logic here, George.
Yeah.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yep, there you go.
Patrick
Start us.
Mahomes backhand. Boo.
That was-
Wow. George gets very close and misses anyway.
Go ahead.
Says the man who threw from closer.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to go over.
hang on. Oh, he's under pressure.
He big Ben.
Oh, he got the first down.
That's right. Oh, for the love of God, good try, Santa. Good try. By the way, 15 yards for roughing the passer there as well on Santa.
Tack it on. Tack it
Yeah,
on.
I
just
wouldn't
anytime
make
you
that Santa angry. Risky business.
What was the famous line for giving him the business?
Yeah.
15 yards there. Puka Nacua receptions, his number at 6.5 for the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on this. The Jets' secondary is not what it was. And I think the Puka Nacua, I think there's only 2 receivers in the NFL that I would take over Puka Nacua these days. That's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Puka has really ascended. And I think he'll get 7 catches against the Jets.
Baker Mayfield, we're going to see him tonight. Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. Lawrence completions, that number at 21.5.
I'm actually going to go under. He's went over this once in his last 3 games, but yet he's still thrown 7 touchdowns in that span. They won't have to do this against Dallas. Tampa Bay's ran for at least 150 yards in 4 straight games as well, so he may not even need to do this against the Cowboys.
Tasty matchup for James Conner facing the Panthers. Everyone's been able to run on them. His number is at 86.5, Matthew.
Yeah, it is. And I'm taking the over. Look, he's gone over this number in back-to-back weeks, and it's a great matchup against the Carolina Panthers. They've allowed a running back to go over this number in 3 straight, 5 of their past 6. Cardinals favored here, and much to my chagrin, instead of Kyler Murray throwing and running for fantasy points all over the place, they've been giving it to James Conner. So James Conner should have another big game today. I think he's potentially a top 5 play today, and I say he goes over 86.5 rushing yards against the Panthers.
Is Kyler on your naughty or nice list?
Wait till I get to my
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
K1 under siege.
Should be on your grievance list.
Yeah,
Jay,
we'll see.
Brock Purdy passing yards, 244.5. Healthy number against the Dolphins.
Tough week last week for Perdito, but I think he goes over. I think he bounces back against a Dolphins defense that is merely solid, and I think that Brock Purdy, Superman, if he doesn't have a little condensation on his fingers. So I think that he will bounce back. That offense still has enough weapons for him to get them 245 passing yards.
James Cook for the Bills, rushing attempt. Not a big number here, Lawrence. 13.5.
And it's actually a fair one. It's tough, but he's hit it in 2 out of his last 3 games just based on the fact that the Bills are 14-point favorites. I'm going to hit the over here. He'll get right at 14 carries because Josh Allen will get the rest.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, receiving yards prop, 72.5. Lions at Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. Look, he's gone over this number in 3 of the last 5 games. The Bears have allowed a wide receiver to go over this number in 5 straight games, including Amon-Ra St. Brown in Week 13. So I think he goes over this number again. If you're telling me one wide receiver goes off against the Bears, I think more likely than not it is the Sun God, not, say, Jameson Williams or Tim Patrick. So, yeah, give me over 72.5 receiving yards from Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Kenneth Walker, back in business for the Seahawks. Rushing and receiving number is 73.5, Jay.
I'll take the under on this. I think that we're going to see more Zach Charbonnet. I just don't think that the Seahawks are going to continue with this. Whoever is the only guy healthy, just make them the workhorse. I think there's going to be more of a divide, just naturally because Charbonnet has played so well. I think he's played himself into more usage. So I'll take the under on KW3. 73.5.
If Jameis was slinging it, this would seem like a no-brainer for Jerry Jeudy, longest reception, over under 22.5. But we got DTR this week.
I'm going to hit that under, and just not because it's DTR. It's because DTR has 123-yard completion and his 146 passing attempts.
So it is just because it's DTR.
So I'm going to go under, yeah. I'm going to go under on that one there, George.
Okay. Drake May, this is a combined number for the Pats, passing and rushing yards, 235.5, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm going over. Look, he's gone over this number in 4 of the last 6 games, and we just talked about this. Like, the Bills' defense is not great. Bills have actually allowed a quarterback to go over this number each of their past 2 games. That's Matthew Stafford, that's Jared Goff, neither of whom are as mobile as Drake May. They're basically 2 touchdown underdogs in this game. I think game script works in favor of sort of junk time for Drake May. So give me the over on 235.5. Drake May passing and rushing yards combined.
Brian Thomas Jr., been your guy. You've been touting this whole rookie season for the Jags. 73.5 receiving yards.
Can you imagine being a 2.5-point underdog to the Las Vegas Raiders in this economy? It's unbelievable. That's what the Jags are, and I think they will have passing script. And I think Brian Thomas Jr., I think he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL on talent, and he's getting the usage. He's got a rapport with Mac Jones, so I think he gets the 74 receiving yards.
This guy's on a lot of grievance lists if you're a Colts fan and fantasy football player. Jonathan Taylor. Will it be a bounce-back week? 86.5 rushing yards, Lawrence.
You wouldn't even know it. He ran for 100 yards last week if he didn't drop the ball, but I'm going to say he actually go over. He's went over this number in 2 straight games. Furthermore, if any reason he'll do it, it'll be because of volume. 3 out of his last 4 games, at least 22 carries. So he's going to get there some way, somehow, so I'm going to go over here.
Couldn't be prop a shot unless we had a nice Commanders prop for Matthew.
Of course, always.
Jaden Daniels, passing and rushing, 257.5, going against the Eagles' D.
I'm going to take the under here. Again, I've said I think the Eagles win this game, only to lose in the playoffs to my Commanders. But look, in the first matchup against Philadelphia, he had 209 total yards, just 209 total yards since week 5. There's been only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL that have gone over this number against the Philadelphia Eagles. Lamar Jackson is one of them. Matthew Stafford's the other. So I'm taking the under on 257.5 passing and rushing yards for Jaden Daniels. Doesn't mean doesn't play well. Doesn't mean they can't win. But I'm taking the under on that total.
You guys know this? DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New customers can bet $5. You
Obviously.
get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app. Use the promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is
The crown! Oh, the crown!
We are continuing
So clearly
with
yours.
the airing of grievances, and it's Mr. Nice, Lawrence. Up.
Yeah, I'm definitely nice with it, but I'm not nice with it in the fantasy league of assholes. So my grievances is to the fantasy guys, particularly for this league. I've been in this league 2 years, I ain't made the damn playoffs, despite having Lamar Jackson. And this year, I got Lamar Jackson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Zay Flowers, and I'm not in the playoffs, fantasy guys. Too many close losses. I'm losing in a league where there's teams like named Chubby Magic in the analytics in the 19th hole. My fantasy name for this league, Jesus Shuttlesworth Father. You know who that is? That's Denzel Washington, and he got game. He was Ray Allen's father. Why I can't be in the playoffs with a name like Jesus Shuttlesworth's father? So fantasy gods, I ask you, hell, I might even pray that you bring me to the playoffs in a fantasy football league of assholes in 2025. I can't keep sitting up on this desk when everybody in the playoffs and I'm just sitting here having to be quiet because I ain't in the playoffs. I'm in playoffs in other leagues, but that doesn't matter here on this show. They don't care about that.
No, they don't.
No.
But I do.
No, sir, they do not.
So I gotta make it. When we come back, we will get into the rankings. You are watching Fantasy Football Pregame.
Deliver me from missing the playoffs.
Exactly. Very.
How about this showdown tonight? The Tampa Bay Bucks on the road in Big D to take on the Cowboys. 7 o'clock Eastern time. Can Baker and the Bucks keep rolling? They've won 4 straight, making their charge towards a division title. Or will the Cowboys upend them? Catch that starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, NBC and Peacock. This in New York. Quick power up from Buddy the Elf. Aaron Rodgers trying to make a late charge towards a Pro Bowl vote, maybe? Yeah. That's what we're selling on the Jets Twitter.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Wait, y'all don't think Aaron Rodgers had a Pro Bowl season?
In the AFC with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
And you're 4-10.
And let me think about this.
Yes, and probably.
And no, I do not think he had a Pro Bowl season.
Just checking, yeah.
How many quarterbacks make it in the Pro Bowl?
3.
I mean, like
You
Burrow,
just
Allen,
named the
and
3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Brock Mayfield, do you think he's maybe a Pro Bowler in the NFC side? Baker Mayfield?
Baker, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably Hurts,
Yeah.
Hurts, Baker, and Jaden Daniels, maybe.
Donald.
Darnold, yeah.
Darnold.
It's tougher in the NFC. It's tougher in the
Yeah.
NFC. By the way, Herbert's he won't get there, but Herbert's had a good year.
I think it should be Goff, Darnold, and Baker. Those would be my 3
Yeah.
in the NFC.
Yeah, NFC is really tough. By the way, you could make an argument for Bo Nix in the AFC. I'd rather Bo Nix over Aaron Rodgers, I'll tell you that much, for the Pro Bowl.
Easily.
on.
Well, because of team success.
Yeah.
Bo Nix would probably be the one ended up playing in it because the other guys, you know.
Right, playoffs and everything like that.
These
But,
are the
like,
ranks 1 through 10. Let's drop down to 11 through 20, Matthew. You got
by the way.
Caleb Williams just outside the top 10. He's at 11 this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this. Detroit's missing a bunch of starters on the defense, including Carlton Davis and Khalil Dorsey in the secondary as well. Over the last 3 weeks, your Lions are allowing a league-high 8.9 yards per pass attempt. I just assume you're bailing on the Bears, because why would you stick with them?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
You can be like me. I
Yeah.
change teams every 6 weeks.
Yeah, every 6 weeks.
You're like a chameleon.
Yes.
Each and every
That's
week.
the way
you're
to live,
blending
for
in.
real.
I
Or a
just take-
chameleon.
Yes. Yeah, chameleon. Yeah, the issue is I keep changing to garbage teams, trash teams, so to speak.
yeah.
We've had some Jags, some Falcons, some New York Giants.
Yeah, you got a lot of money on the Giants at one point.
Yeah, it didn't go great at any point. Yeah, one of those bets that never has a pro.
Yeah.
It was odd. They were priced correctly at 80-1 after 2 weeks.
Unbelievable. Getting shots for 80-1 shots losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Lawrence, another guy that we had on that list, 11 through 20, Drake May, who's been using his legs.
Yeah,
very
just
well.
speaking of his legs, ran for at least 25 yards or a rushing touchdown, 4 straight games. Buffalo's allowed the quarterback 9 and the quarterback 2 in each of the last 2 weeks. So Tiny is a chance to get some garbage points here.
Running back ranks, this guy has vaulted up lists now. He's up to number 1. Jahmyr Gibbs with David Montgomery dealing with that PCL injury out for the regular season. Gibbs, not just this week. You think he could be number 1 the rest of the fantasy season, Matthew?
For sure. He's had 10 career games where he's gotten 17 or more touches. He's averaging over 22 fantasy points per game. Great offensive line. Game script's going to be in his favor. And he's really, really good with only Craig Reynolds for competition.
We briefly mentioned James Conner at 5 this week, Lawrence, against the Panthers. And it seems like a week he could go off.
Yeah, nothing to be said here much. He's been a top 7 running back each of the past 2 weeks. Now you're facing the Panthers, who allow the most fantasy points per game to running back. Good matchup.
Any reason not to be buying high James Cook this week, Matthew?
No, I mean, you talked about it. He's had multiple goal line rushes in 5 of his past 6 games. You and Lawrence both talked about him. New England's given up 17 or more fantasy points to a running back in 3 straight games. So I do think James Cook has a good game here. If somehow his brother Dalvin gets traded to the team and is active for this game somehow in the next 30 minutes,
could get a touchdown.
Yeah, I think he would get. But honestly, you could do worse than if you're truly desperate. Ray Davis again, up 14. Like I could see him getting some work like in the second
Ty
half, fourth quarter.
Johnson might score.
Yeah,
He's
just
been doing.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, James Cook is my running back 11.
Okay, another guy that's in that mix, 11 to 20, Rico Dowdle for the Cowboys. Comfort level starting him. We're going to hold that Therapy Rob on YouTube. Juwan Jennings or Rico Dowdle, PPR. Need to win in the semifinals. He is in the midst of fantasy football playoffs here, Week 16.
By the way, do you think Therapy Rob gives therapy or is in therapy?
Or both.
Both.
Not.
Well,
It's true. Yeah, like you remember on The Sopranos, like Dr. Melfi would give therapy to, whatever, Tony Soprano, but then she had a therapist herself.
Yes.
Yes.
To deal with giving therapy to
Yes,
Tony Soprano.
yes, which you need, which is wise. I'm not sure about that question, Matthew, but Juwan Jennings, Rico Dowdle in PPR, this is difficult. I think this is a true coin flip. Rico Dowdle, I think, has a very tough matchup against the Bucks.
He does.
Which the Bucks have had an elite run defense. They've been the 4th most efficient run defense since Week 5, coinciding with Vita Vea returning to the lineup. He's such a big part of that run defense. And Juwan Jennings, it was such a rough game for him last week, but he's still Brock Purdy's #1 guy. So look, Juwan Jennings is set at 61.5 receiving yards. Rico Dowdle 72.5 rushing yards. So if you just go off the DraftKings pricing, you should take Dowdle because he's also more likely to score a touchdown. But there's something just gnawing about it. I don't think he's going to have a great game.
Yeah, I would say this. I think Dowdle is more of the floor play and Jennings is the upside play. Sort of depends on what you need there. But yeah, I mean, you'd at this point, you'd rather be on a team that's quarterbacked by Brock Purdy than one Cooper Rush. So
Rico Dowdle has had a career high in rushing 3 weeks in a row. It got to stop at some point, right?
Well, I mean, it's against the Bengals, the Panthers.
There's also a chance, by the way, again, that they get blown out of this game and there's a chance Dowdle gets game scripted out of this game. There's no chance that happens with Jennings.
To be fair, though, Dowdle has got such a hold on that backfield that he gets the
PPR.
PPR.
He gets some of the dump offs, but like again, they'll do stuff with Cavante Turpin and Turpin and anyways. So again, I think there's a reason you're asking the question because they're evenly matched. I would say if you're like, hey, I just need 10 points, Dowdle's most likely to get that. He's the floor play. But if you're like, I need to swing for the fences, Jennings has more upside than Dowdle, right? Jennings could have 100 yards and a touchdown easy.
We've seen it earlier this year. I mean, he had that monster 175-yard 3-touchdown game. So.
Again, given the running back questions in San Francisco, I think they pass more in this one as well.
Let's drop it down to 21 through 30 in our running back ranks. Which name here? You have pinpoint.
I'll just mention Alexander Madison, who comes in at running back 24. Sincere McCormick and Zamir White both on IR. In the 2 games, Abdullah doesn't have a lot of rushing attempts. They're using mostly out of the backfield as well. So Madison, who was the lead back from weeks 5 through 8, he averaged over 20 touches a game. Again, it's Alexander Madison on the Raiders. So you're pretty desperate here, but I do think, I do think he's going to get a decent workload today in a decent matchup.
It's a very uncomfortable backfield.
Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
Let's go over now to the wide receiver ranks 1 through 10. Very comfortable spot if you're starting Mike Evans, primetime game against the Cowboys.
Dallas has given up over 20 fantasy points to wide receiver in 3 of the past 4. Evans needs 251 over his final 3 games, which averages out to 83 per game to get to 1,000 yards for the 11th straight year. You're starting Mike Evans. Don't get cute.
Yeah, Devontae Adams coming off that massive game. It's crazy. You say Devontae Adams wide receiver 4 and the Jets are 4 and 10. Wouldn't have forecasted that when the trade happens, but Devontae's obviously got the connection with Aaron Rodgers and not a super scary matchup against a suspect Rams secondary.
Even crazier, Jets have to win out to equal last year's win total. It's 7 and 10. And you got Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams cooking right now. 11 through 20, DJ Moore seems like the best play out of the Bears wide receiving corps.
No question. In the 5 games since Shane Waldron was fired, he's got a 27% target share. He's averaging 18 fantasy points per game. And as we've mentioned multiple times, both starting corners for the Lions are out for the year.
Another guy in that Jets wide receiver corps, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, just going to try to take advantage. The Rams have allowed a receiving touchdown to a wideout 7 of their last 8 games. They also allowed the 8th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, so like Garrett Wilson as well.
21 through 30, Devontae Smith and the Eagles facing the Commanders secondary at times has been leaky, but you have Marshawn Lattimore in the mix. They've looked a lot better the last 7 to 8 weeks, so he's just outside your top 20, Matthew.
Yeah, look, in the 5 games that Dallas Goedert has missed this season, he's got a 31% target share. You mentioned Marshawn Lattimore. My expectation is he will shadow A.J. Brown, so maybe some more looks go to Devontae Smith's way. And this is a team that last week made a point of passing. I think they want to get to be more balanced. They don't want it to be all on Saquon's shoulders. So, yeah, Devontae Smith, I think, is a high-end flex play today.
For the Vikes, Jordan Addison, Jay, has been white hot.
Yeah, he's been awesome. When he's been out there, since he missed time early on, he's been an absolute monster. He's only set at 54.5 receiving yards on DraftKings. I think that is a touch low. His receiving prop is 4.5 receptions too. He's emerging as sneakily one of the best kind of foils in the league for another superstar receiver. He's a lot closer to T. Higgins, to Jefferson's Jamar Chase than I think that we expected coming into the year.
They're closing the gap. Those are probably 1A, 1B, the two best wide receiver.
Yeah, given that Tyreek and Waddle have really fallen off, those are the two pairings, I think.
Yeah,
You
for
buy
sure.
that?
I do.
31 through 40, Jameson Williams. Last week, I was on the over for his receiving prop line. Didn't cash. Wound up with 37 receiving yards. This week, that number about 10 less. It's in the low 40s on DraftKings, Matthew.
Yeah, tough break for you last week, but don't forget, in week 4, you crushed the Bo Nix call.
Damn right. Never forget.
Never forget. But Jameson Williams, I do think, has some reasons for optimism today against the Lions. He's had at least a 19% target share in every game except for one since week 10. He's averaging 13 points per game in that stretch. And the Bears, among the struggles they've had this year, is deep passes. They are bottom 5 in terms of most yards and receptions allowed on deep passes. Obviously, Jameson Williams is the deep threat. We think Goff will look for him. So Jameson Williams is my wide receiver 31 today.
Lawrence, sell me on Jalen McMillan.
Well, he scored 3 times in his last 2 games. Those are solid numbers right there. Fresh off the career day, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a TD. He's played at least 75% of the snaps in 2 out of his last 3 games. He's looking like that wide receiver 2 in Tampa Bay for Baker.
Question here from Bryce, pardon me. Yeah, the artist formerly known as Bruce. Full point PPR. Need a bit of upside, honestly. Team I'm playing had Henry Flowers. Played well yesterday. Tajay Spears, Patrick Taylor, Jalen McMillan, Christian Watson, or Elijah Moore.
I think in terms of upside, I think probably McMillan for me.
Yeah.
That's the guy that's got the best chance of just having a monster game. I mean, Watson too. But just who knows?
Watson has a lot of upside, but it's like, what's the real upside?
Yeah,
It's different because for McMillan, his role is going to be solid. Those Packers receivers is 4 of them. So there is upside because Christian Watson could go 80 yards for a touchdown, but McMillan could go for what I just said, 5 for 75 and a touchdown, and you definitely could live with that.
And it could be a week for the Packers where Jordan Love throws it maybe 25 times. Josh Jacobs could have 25-plus carries this week where they're just pounding the rock and blow out the Saints. Tight end ranks, and we're going to give you 1 through 20. Start with our top 10. George Kittle at number 2 against the Dolphins. And why do we think he's going to go off this week in Miami, Matt?
Well, the Dolphins struggle against elite tight ends. Both Trey McBride and Brock Bowers scored 20 more fantasy points against the Dolphins. Since week 8, they allow the 5th most yards per game to tight ends. Running game is, a bit dicey there. So Kittle, as you see there, is my number 2 tight end today.
Jonnu Smith, other side of the field for the Dolphins, Jay, and he's had quite the fantasy season. He's been, top 5 all year?
Yeah, I don't know why Mike McDaniel thinks Jonnu Smith is peak Antonio Gates and emphasizes him over Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but he is very solid, and he's a big part of this offense. This offense is all about getting the ball out quickly, and Jonnu Smith is often the recipient.
Next guy, Creepy Santa has targeted, and it's Jay's guy as well, Brenton Strange, at number 11.
Yeah, last week he had a crazy target share, 28%, 11 of those targets came in the slot. It's a good matchup against the Raiders, as since week 7, Las Vegas allows the most yards per game to opposing tight ends. So Mac Jones, who's shown a level of competency, should be able to get the ball to Brenton Strange and, of course, Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah. And then Jake Ferguson, 1 double-digit fantasy point performance in his last 7 games. He should be a top tight end, but he's not because of that. Only 60% of the snaps in week 15, so that's a scary matchup for you today.
And no surprise here, going back to the well, as we got a nice entrance for QB1 clocking in. I guess everyone is trying to throw out the Pro Bowl votes. I don't know. I'm a big Caleb guy. I don't know if I'm buying Pro Bowl, but get your vote in.
He does not have a. He don't have a chance to that as Aaron Rodgers. So
come on. Let's get more creative, NFL Social, than just throwing out Pro Bowl votes. So it seems like a fever dream when the Bears were 4-2 and we're actually talking playoffs. Since then, they've lost 8 straight. That's the second longest losing streak in franchise history. The longest came just 2 years ago. They lost 14 straight. So they've had their 2 longest losing streaks in franchise history in the last 3 years. But this pain of being a Bears fan it's really generational trauma. Since Jack Pardee left the Bears in 1977 to coach the Washington Commanders, the last 9 Bears head coach prior to Thomas Brown. You had Neil Armstrong, Mike Ditka, Dave Wanstead, Dick Duran, Lovie Smith, Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, Matt Eberflus. All 9 of them, what do they have in common? They were all fired. Thomas Brown, the interim head coach, soon to be fired. Ryan Poles, the GM, has had these 2 longest losing streaks in franchise history in his 3 years as the general manager. They're just the symptom. The one constant in that whole time has been the ownership of George Halas and now his offspring, the McCaskey family. They've had 1 winning season the last 12 years with George McCaskey as chairman, since firing Lovie Smith. At this point, when it's 3rd generation family running the business, it's been an abject failure. You just have a disaster of both a front office, a coaching staff, and your general manager. You need to fire Poles. You need to just relinquish the reins, let football minds run the Bears organization, because you're the laughingstock of the NFL, and it's going to continue to be so if you are still making the decisions. So that is my grievance as a scorned Bears fan watching another season go down the gutter. But we have more fantasy football pregame still to come after the break.
And just got a ton of gift cards. So.
For the Arizona Cardinals, come for Marv, stay for Santa.
Yeah. Interesting.
Who gonna catch more passes today, Santa or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
It's -110 on both sides at DraftKings, just so you know.
Parlay it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, please, Kyler Murray, throw. He's been bad last couple of weeks, fantasy-wise. You know, been tough putting.
All time for your ride or dies. Is he a cellar dweller?
No. 1 year I picked Daniel Jones. That was a mistake.
And it wasn't the good year.
And it wasn't the good year.
I didn't know you back then, did I?
Yeah, no, you did not.
All right.
That was my this Daniel Jones' second year. He had a promising rookie season. He was running
Right.
thought anyway. And yeah.
Okay. We're going beer goggles time. This is a scale of 1 to 5 beers. How confident are you in starting these players? How many beers would it take? So that first matchup, Arizona at Carolina, we're going to start with MHJ. How many beers for you, Matthew?
2.5. Don't feel great about it. Look, he hasn't been there. He hasn't been that productive. Since week 5, he's wide receiver 53 in fantasy. He's had only 3 games during that stretch with double-digit fantasy points. Only 3 games this year with more than 60 receiving yards. He really needs touchdowns to pay off for you. Now, he could get touchdowns today. 3 straight games with multiple end zone targets. Carolina has allowed 25 or more fantasy points to a wide receiver in 2 of their past 3. And feels sort of like Kyler's due because he's just been down. Having said that, like, it could just be another big James Conner game here. So, and could this be they're also bad Panthers also really bad against tight ends. Could this finally be the week for Trey McBride? So 2.5 beers for Marvin Harrison. Don't feel great about it. He's wide receiver 27. I'd want to be, on my way to buzz pretty hard to be like, yeah, whatever. Let's do it. So he makes me nervous, for sure. Because he could go off, but he could easily not. Okay. I know.
Yeah, that was longer than the Gettysburg Address there with your breakdown of Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's go up tempo for the Chubbler.
Yes, the Chubbler. 1 beer for the Chubbler. There are very few workhorse backs in the NFL. He gave me absolutely nothing last week, as I mentioned, but should be a high-scoring game. Chance to get in the end zone for Chubby Magic.
What say you with Adam Thielen?
Just 1 beer. Look, 20% the Bryce Young's targets the past 3 weeks. In those 3 weeks, he's had a couple of top 15 fantasy outputs, so he's going to be the most targeted receiver today. 1 beer.
Lions at Bears. We're going to kick it off with Keenan Allen. How many beers for you, Matthew?
Just 1.5 beers, honestly. Look, he's quietly had 20 or more fantasy points in 3 of the past 4. He's scored 4 touchdowns in that span. Since week 8, he's had an almost 29% target share. We've talked about the Lions secondary, all their struggles, their injuries. They have allowed the 2nd most yards to the slot this season. I think game script works in his favor. Just 1.5 beers. I think Keenan Allen has a decent game. Here's my wide receiver 24.
Other side, or in the Bears backfield, pardon me, with DeAndre Swift. What's your kind of comfort level this week?
2 beers for DeAndre Swift. I think this game's going to be close enough that game script won't get away from the Bears. They showed how much in the first half against the Vikings they really want to establish the run. So DeAndre Swift, just 2 beers.
Bears rookie Rome Odunze.
He got a great future, but it's going to be 4 beers for me because I'm finna start a receiver who's been averaging 36 receiving yards in his last 4 games. Furthermore, he's still playing behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore when it comes to snap share.
This game could be ugly. Patriots at Bills. That number at 14. The Bills favored by 14. So with Dalton Kincaid back in the mix for this electric Bills offense, what would it take you, Matthew?
Yeah, you know what? 2 beers. I think here's some positives, right? First game back last week, he had a 22% target share. It's a nice matchup with the Patriots. Over the last 4 weeks, Patriots allow the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Now, he's had only 3 games this year with double-digit fantasy points, so it's a little bit nervous, and obviously Josh Allen throws it around a lot. They're getting close. We think Josh Allen probably runs, but since week 4, he's had at least a 19% target share. Game script should work for him. Like, we expect a lot of scoring for the Buffalo Bills. So 2 beers for Dalton Kincaid. He's my tight end 9.
We were all over Amari Cooper last week. He had that big game against the Rams, and then he was completely MIA.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
So how many beers against
But
the
again,
Pats?
week 4, who said bad things about Bo Nix? You did. And was he bad in week 4?
He was bad, Bo.
So
Since then, good Bo.
Again, yes, Amari Cooper not so much, but again, week 4, Bo Nix, never forget.
He gets it. He
Never
gets
forget.
it.
Indeed.
Yep.
4 beers for Amari Cooper. I don't want any part of this this receiving game in Buffalo. It's basically the corollary to the Packers wide receiver roulette, where I don't feel good about any of these guys outside of really Khalil Shakir. You just don't know what you're going to get from Amari Cooper. Yeah, he's high variance. If you need to swing for the fences, he's a good swing there, but for the most part, you can probably find a safer option.
So Jay's feeling good about Khalil Shakir. You too, Lawrence?
Yeah, just 1 beer, no less than 7 targets in a game since week 5. He's been wide receiver 15 the past 2 weeks. Did you see what happened last week? Josh Allen said, hey, you want this to be a running or receiving touchdown? Knowing a receiver is going to say, well, of course I want to receive a touchdown. Yeah, I might not even need the 1 beer, but yeah, whatever. Khalil Shakir's his favorite receiver by far.
Josh Allen gets it.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be a lot of fun.
I'd want to play for him, if I'm a receiver, definitely.
Bucks at Cowboys, and we're going to start with Bucky Irving in the Bucks backfield. He's been dinged up the last month or so, but
he has been, but it looks like he's fully healthy this week. He's off the injury report, and I'm going to say 1 beer. Just 1 beer. I'm sipping on a beer, and I'm throwing him in there. I have no worries in this world. 6 of the past 8 healthy games, he's had at least 15 fantasy points. He's averaging 95 yards from scrimmage during that stretch. Since week 6, averaging 5.6 yards per carry. That is a really, really nice number. We think this offense is going to roll. I think game script works in his favor as well. So he's my running back 16. He's on my team in our league, in the League of A-Holes. So, yeah, give me Bucky Irving. 1 beer. 1 beer. I'm nursing it. I'm not even trying.
No care in this world for Matthew starting Bucky Irving. Jay, what if you're starting Rachaad White?
Only 2 beers for Rachaad White. I think he's shown that he can put up value next to Bucky Irving. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, so they can spread the love between both running backs. Rachaad White, his rushing prop on DraftKings is 42.5. His receiving prop 17.5. Sounds about right to me. About 60 scrimmage yards and then a reasonable chance to get into the end zone.
Okay. With Cooper Rush, you got a spot start him this week. Fantasy football playoffs.
Yeah.
How many beers are we talking, Lawrence?
Because it's Cooper I'm sorry, definitely not Cooper Kupp. He's Cooper Rush. He's been quarterback 11, way different. Quarterback 11 over the past 2 weeks, where he's thrown 5 TDs, 1 pick. So I would say 3 beers. I like the matchup here against Tampa Bay's pass defense. Also, that over-under's 48.5. You could be chasing some points right there.
Our big beer guys this week, and we got a tie with Jay and Lawrence. 9 beers. Matthew took your foot off the gas. Only had 7.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, yeah.
Keeping it easy breezy.
It's the holidays. You know, who wants to get hammered during the holidays?
Most people.
Yeah, good point. There is that.
America.
Yeah.
Pickup lines. Here's our pickup line effectiveness. Jay Croucher's picked up Barry 10 times, 12 and 5. That's cashing.
Yeah.
Lawrence under 500 now. He's picked up Barry 7 times. He has 8 and 9.
Jay has been red hot. Lawrence tries those, like plus money bets, which, they're plus money because the odds are a lot harder to hit.
I'm a singles hitter. Lawrence swings for the fences.
Correct.
I'm gonna be a little modest today though, because today's bet, Matthew, is only plus 105.
Okay.
So, and that's for the Bengals to go at home against the Cleveland Browns to score in all 4 quarters. It could be a field goal, just score in 4 quarters. Look, they've done this in 5 of their last 6 games. Let me put that in another language. They've scored in 23 of their last 24 quarters. This includes teams like the Ravens, the Steelers, the Chargers. Cleveland, in their last 5 games, has given up 28.5 points per game. So, just do that math there. Then we talked about DTR, and I don't want to just keep ragging on him, but in his career, he's got 1 touchdown pass and 7 interceptions. So the Bengals are going to be able to get the ball a lot. So the Bengals to score every quarter plus 105.
I like that a lot.
I actually do too.
Well, it is the season. The holiday season, so I'm going with one of my best friends, my family member, Baker Mayfield. Longest completion, over 34.5 yards. He's gone for 57 and 44 the past 2 weeks. What is the Cowboys defense? This is for years now. The Cowboys defense is all about getting quick pressure, because if they don't get quick pressure, they break down in the back end because they don't have the corners, particularly this year, who can cover. This Bucs O-line is one of the best O-lines in football, preventing quick pressure. I think Mayfield is going to have time to throw down the field to Mike Evans. Just close your eyes, Matthew. Can you picture Mike Evans getting a 35-yarder? Because I certainly can. So over 34.5, longest completion for Baker Mayfield.
Ooh, I like both these.
I could picture it too because he did it last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Twice.
He'll do
No,
it again.
I know, and just the tackling. Diggs is out for the Cowboys in the secondary. Obviously, it's really Micah is what their defense
Yes.
is. I mean, and so if he doesn't get home, there's time. Baker moves around in the pocket. I'm going to go home with Jay. I do like that. I know, Lawrence, but I'm going to bet yours as well.
I like that you didn't even list the line, though. What's that? Minus.
That's like minus 110.
Okay.
You can't list the line, George, when it's not plus money, baby. Come on now.
I'm going home with Jay. Jay's been red hot. I mean, he's 12 and 5.
Yeah,
Lawrence. He's 12 and 5.
yeah.
But I do like your bet. I'm going to bet both of those in the commercial break whenever we get to it.
Right on.
Your grievance time. So
Oh,
let's
is it?
see you do the walk up.
Yeah. Let me do that. I made some notes here.
Don't
Put on the
fall.
walking shoes.
Wow,
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah, I have
Everyone,
notes.
everyone else did it without notes.
Yeah.
Straight off the dome.
Well, I'll tell you why.
I didn't even know what I was going to say.
Yeah, well, you know what? Some of us like to prep. Some of us have multiple grievances.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Matty grievances. Let's see it.
Yeah, you know what? First off, I want to air grievances to the Arizona Cardinals and Drew Petzing, their offense coordinator. Because I went on a limb, and I chose Kyler Murray as my ride or die. And it's been more die than ride this year, if I'm being honest. How do you not use Kyler Murray, one of the fastest players in the NFL, his legs? He doesn't use his legs anymore. He's not running. He runs over to the bench, right? He'll run to hand the ball off to James Conner, but no, he's not actually running. It's been absolutely brutal. He's been under 18 fantasy during a great stretch of playoffs here. So K1 not doing it. How about Patrick Mahomes? First off, no one wants to talk about this because everyone loves Patrick Mahomes. He's beloved. You know, he's such a nice guy. He's so brilliant. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. But he also caused Rashee Rice to be out for the year. I don't think you guys have any idea of how much Rashee Rice I had this season, but it was a lot. Pretty much every single team. And there's Patrick Mahomes doing too much, and people don't remember that, but it was Patrick Mahomes that injured Rashee Rice and took him out for the year. I don't think it was intentional.
I don't think so either.
Make no mistake.
Gotta throw that in there.
That one was on Mahomes. That was on Mahomes. He's also, by the way,
It's a terrible time.
by the way, he just, fantasy-wise, he has not been the guy we all expected. The fantasy points have been down. He's throwing way too much to Noah Gray, not nearly enough to Travis Kelce for our fantasy purposes here as well. I'd also like to take one quick grievance here to the League of Assholes. The reason they're named the League of Assholes because they're all assholes. You know, like, they're playing against me and all of a sudden they're Johnny General Manager. They're not paying attention the rest of the season, but when it comes to me, all of a sudden they're working trades. They're up at 3 a.m. working the waiver wire. They all keep coming at me with their daggers out. But finally, my biggest grievance here, Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers all throughout the preseason. He's fine. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine for week 1. He might miss week 1, but don't worry. He'll be back week 2. No. Now he's going on IR, but he'll be back after 4 weeks. Oh, no. Doesn't get back until week 10. Absolutely just blatant lying to us left and right. The reporting on that was terrible. The Chris McCaffrey situation, like, just be honest with us. That's all we ask. Or at least just say, hey, there's a chance he might miss some time. None of this, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Because he wasn't fine. He wasn't fine for fantasy managers. He wasn't fine for, honestly, for the 49ers as well. It was a tough season for McCaffrey and the 49ers. Those are my grievances. Happy Festivus.
It's all noted.
Anyway, we'll be back.
I felt that.
Maybe. They might cancel us over the break right now, this commercial break.
Hey folks, Danny Carter here with Rotoworld, bringing you 2 Week 16 kicker plays off the waiver wire. We're going to start with a dandy. Zoomers are saying dandy more and more. With Brandon McManus in Green Bay against the Saints. The Saints are allowing the 8th most field goal attempts on the season. The Packers sporting a hefty implied total of 28.5 points this week against a flailing New Orleans defense. McManus has made all 7 of his field goals over the past 3 weeks. He has as good a floor as any kicker in the league in Week 16. Now on to Cade York in Cincinnati taking on the Browns. The Bengals have the 3rd highest implied total of the week, so should be lots of scoring for Cincinnati. 3 of the past 4 kickers to face the Browns have had multiple field goal attempts, and over the past month, the Bengals have averaged nearly 5 red zone possessions per game. That is a lot per my spreadsheets.
Buddy Denny bringing that kicker here
Yes.
each and every week. How cool is the free kick on Thursday night? Just one of those inside.
It was pretty cool.
I think Jim Harbaugh's reaction was really the special part of that. It was like, Christmas came
By the
early
way,
for Jim.
that was genuine too.
I know. He was so happy.
He's such a football guy.
He is such a football guy. There's no question. No question
My
about
favorite
that.
rule.
Yeah.
So strange to have a hierarchy of favorite rules. As I mentioned during the week, my favorite rule's always been ineligible man downfield. It's one of the greatest.
That's why it's been your favorite football season
Yeah,
ever.
exactly.
You get it.
I love
get
it every
all the
time they call it.
The free kick though I feel like it's the thing in NFL football that is most like Australian rules football.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Yes.
there you go. It makes sense that why it's your favorite rule as well.
Yes. No, I love it. It's great. Let's have more. Let's have them every week.
Yeah. Maybe next year that'll be Applebee's free
Yes.
wings if there's a free kick. Yeah.
My airing of grievances to be continued is the football gods, and we need one of these touchdown parlays to cash. We cashed one earlier this season when I was absent, so it'd be nice to cash
I
one.
need you back in Tokyo.
While I'm here. We certainly do if we're going to make some money. I would bet this from afar. Here's what we got this week for our touchdown parlay. The number is at plus 614.
Yeah.
Jay, let's kick it off. Why'd you go with James Cook?
Well, the Bills are 14-point favorites against the Patriots. Suspect that they will be in scoring position. And I think that the Josh Allen rushing touchdown stuff is a little bit overblown because they've been disproportionately at the 1 yard line. I think that, if they're at the 4 yard line, they'll run it with James Cook. So I think he'll get in the end zone once.
Okay. Lawrence, you got Bucky Irving?
Bucky Irving, he did me right for 3 straight weeks a couple weeks ago, scoring touchdowns. He hasn't scored in 2 weeks, the weeks I didn't take him, but now I'm back on him now that he's plus 100. He came back from injury last week, over 110 yards per scrimmage, and the Bucs too will be up and in scoring position, so he will get that touchdown.
Fitting that last year your grievance was Arthur Smith and Bijan, and you got Bijan now in your touchdown.
Yeah,
parlay.
freed from Arthur Smith. So Bijan Robinson is my choice as well. Again, we've talked about this. Giants are more than a touchdown underdog on the road at Atlanta. Michael Penix's first game here. Take some pressure off the rookie. Give it to your star running back as well. Giants 26th against the run over the last 4 weeks. And so I think Bijan Robinson as a home, more than a touchdown favorite, has a lot of opportunity to get into the end zone here. So, give me some Bijan.
Rams favorite on the road at the Jets. Jets defense hasn't been great this year. So I think Kyron Williams is going to get have one of those weeks where they're just pounding the rock. He gets 25 carries. Good chance he's going to have a high leverage situation inside the 5, getting some red zone carries and a touchdown this week. So this is the week.
There you
We're
go.
going to make it happen.
Reminder, DraftKings is the favorite place to bet on touchdowns this season.
Number one
place too. Yeah,
to
that
bet
too.
touchdowns. And guess who is number one?
Thank you for the asterisk.
Bar
lot of
trivia
debate.
standings.
Got
Lot
some
of
work to
debate.
do,
The asterisk.
fellas. Work to do.
I almost put that into my airing of grievances because I think that Bo Nix scored more fantasy points than Anthony Richardson. It was scored the other way because there's a discrepancy about what scoring system we use to do this. So that's an asterisk. I should have another.
the asterisk is-
What
Another
y'all
thing is
don't
crybaby.
see on the screen is our researcher Big Show playing the violin for Matthew there. So
Matthew's
shout
still
out to Big Show.
8 back of Lawrence. So we got 2.5 minutes. You want to rip through these?
Yeah, let's rip through them.
Okay. Lawrence, since you're in the lead, more receiving yards, Malik Neighbors or Drake London?
London.
Neighbors.
Yeah, London calling. I'm going with London.
Wasn't quite a rip through. More receptions, I'm on Ross St. Brown or DJ Moore?
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
I'm on Raw.
I agree. I'm on Raw. Damn it. Come on.
You guys agree with me, Joe Burrow throws 3+ passing touchdowns?
No.
Yeah,
No.
that's also at plus 110 if you want to bet that.
More fantasy points, Anthony Richardson or Jonathan Taylor?
Richardson.
Richardson.
Damn it, Richardson.
More
I need some more variance here. Richardson.
More passing yards, and this is the 18th career meeting between these two guys. Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford?
You'll get it right here, Aaron Rodgers.
I'll go with Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
More fantasy points, Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels?
The better quarterback, Jay Croucher, Jalen Hurts.
The inferior quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
I need some variance here because I'm down and it's week 16. I'll take Jaden Daniels.
Faith in 5. More total yards, James Conner or the Chubla?
Give me James Conner.
James Conner.
The Chubbler.
More receiving yards. I can't believe that's a bit. DK Metcalf or Jordan Addison?
DK.
DK.
Jordan Addison.
We're really setting the line low.
You know what? F that. DK Metcalf. I'm going back on DK. I'm going back DK Metcalf.
1 minute to go. Josh Allen, does he score 25-plus fantasy points?
No.
Yeah, he scored 25 fantasy
Yes.
points.
Yes.
More receptions, Brian Thomas Jr. or Brock Bowers?
BTJ.
Yeah, give me Brock Bowers.
I'll take Brock Bowers.
More passing yards, Brock Purdy or Tua?
Tua.
Purdy.
Purdy.
Our last one, more fantasy points, CeeDee Lamb or Mike Evans?
Mike Evans.
Go ahead, man.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, we got 15 seconds to go. It's your show. Why don't you sign us off?
It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a Happy New Year. We'll be back tomorrow with Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Thank you to Lawrence, to Jay, to George, to everyone. Peace out.
And he sticks the landing.
And goodwill towards men.